The cost of IT in business can be staggering. From hardware and software expenses to services like internet and phone, you don't need to spend a fortune on IT to succeed. If your organization spends more than $500 monthly on any service, or you're considering signing a long-term contract, IT Enabled can help you manage your technology and minimize your costs. Contact us today to schedule a free consultation. IT Enabled, we're here to help.
Hi, I'm Tara Watson-Watkins, President and CEO of the Lufkin, Angelina County Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the Connect podcast, connecting business to the community. I'm here today with my co-host, Blake Pollino with BP Media Group.
So this week, we are talking all things Leadership Lufkin. We have Marcus Wells, an alumni of the most recent class of Leadership Lufkin, join us to talk about his experience, how he's gained insight onto what happens in the Lufkin community, and how he genuinely benefited from this program. So let's jump into that episode now.
Marcus, we're excited to have you on this morning. I always love when Marcus comes to the chamber because there is a lot of laughter and a lot of noise in the building. And it has been a pleasure to get to know you over the last few years. So.
Good. I'm glad I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. So Marcus is actually part of our Leadership Lufkin. He just graduated this past month. So let's talk about what prompted you to actually apply for Leadership Lufkin.
So my application is probably a little bit different than most of the standard applicants that go through Leadership Lufkin. I didn't have a lot of notice prior to. My site director was actually supposed to do it, and I knew that our company, our organization really values.
So Marcus works for Lockheed Martin.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Lockheed Martin really values the Leadership Lufkin, and they usually send members of their senior staff, things of that nature, to Leadership Lufkin. And previously, our number two in our organization had gone. There was a gap year between, we had the COVID year, and no one was able to go. But before that, it was who is now our number two. And then this year was a brand new site director was intended on going. But unfortunately for unforeseen events, she wasn't able to go. So right before our initial meeting that was on Tuesday, she called me to her office and said, would you be interested in doing this? And I had about 3 hours, I think, notice. It was, I think I can make all these dates. She said, no, you can't. You have to make these dates. I said, I can do it. And she said, okay, good. The next one's in a couple hours. I need you to be there. So that was the Tuesday at the country club.
That's right, the welcome.
The welcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
and then that weekend you went on a retreat.
Yes, packed a bag and still had no idea what I was getting involved in.
The best part is he was thrown into this and then becomes class president.
Yep.
My site director, she voodooed that on me, is what she did. She, when she was trying to talk me into it, because I thought, right at first I thought, I don't know that I've got the dedicated time to be able to complete it. She said, don't worry, you'll be fine. You're going to probably be the class president. And when I came back, I said, you wished this on me. You did this. So I did. I went there because you were able to make I
was actually at the welcome dinner. So if you haven't heard this on the podcast previously, so I was actually supposed to be a part of this class, went to the welcome dinner, was all ready to go. And then the day before the retreat, COVID happened.
The dreaded COVID got us.
Yeah, COVID didn't get me, but I had extreme amounts of contact, and I just couldn't in good conscience go to the retreat. And the options were I could zoom into it, and I was like, I don't want to zoom in while people are doing ropes courses and stuff. I was like, I'll just wait till next year. So I'll be in this upcoming year's class. But yeah, I was at the welcome.
I'm not a fan of heights, so I wouldn't have taken the camera up and down I did it, but you would have been shaking a lot as I did it.
So I'm excited to be in Nick. But yeah, I was at that welcome dinner, and I remember you coming in okay, I guess I'm doing this.
I literally sat there, and at the point I didn't know what was.
You didn't know anybody though.
No.
Either, did you?
I knew. I knew Amanda, but she wasn't there. And I'd actually messaged her in between going to the welcome and getting notice. Hey, do you know what this is? She said, yeah, you'll love it. Do it. Okay, well, I usually do what I'm told as much as possible.
Yeah.
So, and then I knew one of the other classmates, Brittany. I knew her. So, I had a little bit of comfort there, but I still, even after the welcome, I was like, I don't know what I'm getting involved in. I went to the chamber website and I pulled it down and I was like, okay. All right. Yeah.
I can do this.
Yeah. So now, having seen all of it, share your experience. How was it? What did you think now that you've seen all of it?
I'll be honest with you. My expectations, I didn't have expectations going into it because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what I was getting involved in. I say that I knew, of it, but I didn't know what it all encompassed. And even go after the retreat, it was kind of, okay, what is this? But it was session day 1 was like, okay, now I understand. This is what we're involved in. This is what we're doing. And I absolutely loved it. Like it was been a great opportunity for me. It's been very good for me. I came back to Lufkin. I grew up here and moved away, went to Houston for a little bit and came back 4 years ago. So I always had that concept that, there's nothing in Lufkin to do. We hear that all the time. You're growing up and you're like, first thing I'm going to do is leave Lufkin. And when I came back, I still kind of wasn't sure what Lufkin was all about, getting acclimated to what was new. And it's been great because I learned so much about our community involvement, and our people within the community. That really, the people are what set us apart. And that's what really I learned about. And since then, I've gotten plugged into a lot of the community involvement, which has been great and has been good for me and my organization, Lockheed Martin.
For those that aren't familiar with Leadership Lufkin, it's a 40-year-old organization. It's actually run through our chamber foundation, so it is a 501c3. And so, the chamber has always had it going on for all of these years. 10 years after it started, we started Leadership Tomorrow, which is for juniors in high school, and have modeled that program very similarly. But on a different scale than Leadership Lufkin. But it's a great opportunity to, have leadership training skills kind of brought in, to be able to see the community in a new light, to be able to go, you hear about all these organizations, but you typically don't know really what they do, and to be able to go in and to hear their stories and to hear why. You've got the Salvation Army, and you've got the Mosaic Center, and you've got multiple hospitals with multiple different wings, and what they do and how they can, offer things to our community. So it's really an in-depth dive into Lufkin, into our nonprofit sector, and into leadership training skills.
Very much so.
Yeah, it's a great program, and it's been fun. So since we've been doing this podcast, a lot of it runs in parallel. So we've had a lot of guests on this show that are organizations that you learn about in Leadership Lufkin. So I've kind of gotten to see a little bit of that. I mean, we're like 90 episodes, almost 100 episodes in this podcast.
That's crazy, Blake.
Absolutely blows my mind.
We're
this
going to
is
have
almost
a
100
party.
episodes. We should have a 100 episode party. And so I'm
all
getting to
your
see
guests back on.
Yes.
Yeah, just everybody, the whole thing, all I don't know, like 80 of you, because we had some people on twice. But seeing some of these organizations behind the scenes, because I had that, and that's a reoccurring thing that happens on this podcast. People are like, I left Lufkin and then I came back, right? And then a lot of people have that perception that there's not anything going on here, there's nothing to do here, and then seeing behind the scenes of some of these things, it's mind blowing what actually is here and like what we actually have going on. But is there any a specific experience from Leadership Lufkin that you can call back to that you enjoyed, or that left an impression on you or your business or how you do things?
So, I mean, there's a couple things. Anything I tend to get involved in goes one of two ways: just real mundane or just real crazy.
Yeah.
So, one of the activities that you do is you have a general idea of what police do, and at least write your ticket, speeding, you didn't stop completely. That's what we think they do on a day-to-day. But I had a ride along, and my experience, they typically tell you it's about 3 hours, and so I was thinking 2 to 3 hours. I was up 6:30 at night. I would be done 8:30, 9 o'clock, and be good to go. I think I got done at 1:30 in the morning. And the trooper the officer that I was with was a great guy. They were just that busy. Yeah. And I had no concept that our police department was that involved in the community. And it wasn't just, they're out there dealing with crime. It wasn't that the crime was that bad. It was the other activities that they do to make sure, our community's safe and they taking care of people and things of that nature. So that was a real adventurous time, and I enjoyed that. And then really getting the opportunity to learn about, the Mosaic Center, Goodwill, what our community does for our community, I think was one of the biggest things. And then from that, taking that as an opportunity of what can I do, and I think that's for me, what it really did was, I don't know that I was a member of our community per se prior to Leadership Lufkin. I paid my taxes, but that doesn't make me a member of the community necessarily. And so I would go home and do what anybody would do. But I think due to Leadership Lufkin and an understanding of what activities are out there for anybody and what you can get plugged into, the chamber really gave me that opportunity to see what was there. And since then, I've actually taken that opportunity and become much more involved in chamber activities and also, some of our nonprofit organizations, which has been great. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
We're going to quote that somewhere on the website.
Yeah. I get quoted.
You're going on the brochure now.
Oh yeah. Now wait a minute. I said I had a face for radio.
But, I love that. That's what we want to happen.
Yeah.
So to know that it is happening, that's very fulfilling.
Very much true. Yeah. It's I've been on a couple of boards now and or elected on a couple of boards, and that's been really good. And it's one of those, I firmly believe, your community is as good as you choose it to be.
That's right.
And as good as you choose to be involved in. And up to this point, I didn't know that there was opportunity. Leadership Lufkin. It's a great networking if you want to get plugged in to networking for your organization. There's not a lot of people that need my skill set, and I hope not.
Outside of what you
outside
guys
of what
do,
I normally do with Lockheed, but other organizations. But even then, now I have names and people to call. So you get the names in your phones that you can call when you want to do something, whatever it is. And my class, I wish you had been able to attend our class. Not that your class won't be amazing; it won't be as great as ours, but that's okay.
I know,
because every class is the best class ever.
Is the best class ever.
Everyone is, except for ours was the greatest of all time.
The GOAT class.
We had to be a little different. We just had to be a little bit different. But it really was a great opportunity. And the people that were in the class are amazing. And they're going to be friends. Some of those are going to be friends, I think, for my life. And I'm going to enjoy that relationship.
I love that. Also, we take a trip to Austin. And so we do really a deep dive into governmental affairs. You get to tour the Capitol. We bring in numerous speakers, which I have to tell you that I thought the speakers we had this past year were some of the best ever that we've had. I've been going to Austin many, many years. But really trying to educate people on why we do the things that we do and why we have to deal with governmental affairs with the chamber and how we can encompass all of that. So why don't you talk about that trip a little bit?
The Austin trip was amazing for a couple of reasons. I really enjoyed it. No
Some
pictures.
Which cannot be
we
talked about on the podcast.
None whatsoever. I can tell you I thoroughly enjoyed the Austin trip, and I plan on going back next year, and I think several of our classmates will do it the same. I love politics. I'm a huge fan of politics, so I kind of geek out on that thing. But having the opportunity to learn what is happening day to day in politics and in the Capitol, what they're doing to try to make our lives better, and especially with the speakers were amazing. They really were, because it was impactful to what we're dealing with today. So we had an individual that talked about the power outage during, we'll call it Snowmageddon, a little over a year ago, and how that impacted us and what they're doing to fix that. And it's great to hear that our worries and concerns on a day-to-day are actually being dealt with in the Capitol. That's really great. And then just from a community aspect of our class, it was a great it was kind of closer to the end of the year for us, so we had gotten to know each other, but it really helped us bond. I almost wish the Austin trip was earlier on, just because it does bring everybody together. But it was kind of a celebration of our year. We took it as an opportunity to celebrate. So, like I said, I'll definitely. I think a couple of our classmates will go back next year, so you'll be stuck with us.
That's okay. I'll be stuck with you.
So we'll see your class. Don't worry about it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, no pictures, by the way.
I'm excited. I'm excited. Well, that's great. Is there anything? So this is a year-long process that you go through. Is there anything about yourself that you learned while doing this, going through this program? Definitely.
It's Leadership Lufkin, and the individuals that are in there are typically the leaders within their organization or leaders within the community, some sort. that being said, you don't have to be. I mean, you don't have to be the leader in your organization to be in it. But what I learned so much, not only about our community, but what I learned about myself was how I can be more impactful in my organization from what I learned from the other people. And that was what I took away was every individual in our class was amazing people. They really were. And they had a skill set that was different than mine. They had something that I wanted to mimic. There was an individual, Sarah Morgan. She's an amazing lady, and she loves everybody. Mm-hmm. And, I'll get aggravated because somebody's breathing the wrong way or something like that. and Sarah loves everybody.
Yeah, she does.
It was one of those where I thought, what? I need to be more like her. Mm-hmm. So learning from each other as we went through everything and taking skill sets from each other is something that is beneficial. And as a leader, within my organization, I needed to do that. And I think because of that, I've, become a better person, and now I'm a better leader in my organization and, ideally a better leader in my community. And that's the goal.
That's great, Marcus. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
We appreciate you coming on the podcast and sharing your stories and the stories that you couldn't share. So
We'll hold those tight.
Keep those. Yep. But thank you so much. Appreciate your time. And if you're interested in Leadership Lufkin, please check it out at the Chamber. I'm super excited to be involved in it this year. My second attempt to be round two. Super excited to be. I get to go to 2 welcome parties, so I guess I got that going.
That's right.
That's great.
Hey, that's not fair.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, that's great. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. And thank you so much for listening to the podcast again this week. We truly appreciate your support. And if you'll do us a favor, if you'll rate and review the podcast wherever you're listening, it just helps people find the podcast who are interested in this type of information and these type of stories in our local community. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.